Hey, how's it going? This is Kaz, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the moon, which is something that is interesting because through the moon we have the understanding of the sun, because the moon is a reflection of the sun. So in the African creation story, the first person who was created is a person who is a moon. He's called Mwezi, which is Mwezi in Shona. So in the depiction of the story, or in the narration of the story, the person is a reflection of the sun, which is what the moon generally basically is. It's a reflection of the light of the sun. So the moon has gone through so many different changes in different cultures and different societies. So in the Middle East, one of the Semitic tribes used to have a deity that was worshipped, and this deity was actually called the moon. She was called the moon, or he was actually a she, which was the moon. And this deity was called Sin, Sin, and this was who they thought was the creator of all things. So through this Sin, they had everything that came out of the mind of the person, because that is how they actually saw it, and that was their religion and their understanding of the moon. The moon has been depicted in so many different tribes, cultures, in different times, and the moon has always been something that has governed the night. So the night time is when darkness falls on the earth. So darkness and blackness are different. Black is the status of the universe, dark matter, right? Which is blackness. But then darkness in this context means ignorance, or just means dark spirits, which is when anything can happen that is bad. So people have tended to fear the night and revere the day. So in a lot of societies, people were more inclined to how they attach their belief system to the sun, because the sun rescues them from the darkness. The sun resurrects them from the darkness of the night, while the moon gives the temporary light. And sometimes the moon is not there. In fact, the moon dies for every 3 days and then it comes back to life, because the moon is always recycling. There's always a new moon. So the moon is always changing, it's always shifting, while the sun is always the same. Now, tomorrow, today, and forever. The sun is always the same. The moon, on the other hand, is always shifting. So when we are looking at this story, it's all about masculine, feminine, light and dark, black and white, male and female. Male being the sun, female being the moon. This is how it is. And through this understanding, a lot of people have called the moon a goddess and the sun a god, because it's male and female. So in this understanding, everything that is created has a law of male and female, a law of gender, duality, polarity, plurality, which causes every rhythm. So the moon and the sun are important in how they actually govern our lives, because the moon is how we are actually, the moon in the essence of the word means a measurement. So the moon is a measurement of every month, which is the root of MON. So every month is measured by a moon. So through this, we also have the measurement of the year, because every month gives us a month, and every 12 months gives us a year. But then this is where the sun comes in, which is a measurement of the larger cycle, which is the orbit of the planet around the sun, which is different from the orbit of the Earth around, which is different from the rotation of the Earth around the sun. So we have the orbit and we have the rotation. So the moon also has the same thing, day and night, but monthly. This is how we measure every month and every night. So understanding the moon is understanding the light and is understanding the dark, because the moon is the darkness of the night, and a lot of people were afraid of the dark. So imagine you're a person who lives in one of those kingdoms without electricity back in the day, where your only salvation is when the moon is full. Sometimes the moon is full, sometimes it's not. So if it's dark at night, then you're subject to all of the cannibals, all of the predators that move in the darkness of the night. So a lot of people were scared of the night. So when the full moon came, it was worshipped as something that was rescuing them, or maybe worship is a strong word, but it was recognized as something that gave them light. So the moon was embodied as a female, and the sun was a male. So in all of this, when we have the sun and the moon, what we have is a reflection of the same thing. So the sun is a son of the light, and then the sun is what we call solar energy. So this solar energy is the root of soul, S-O-L. So this soul is solar. So this solar energy is what we also call SOLE, which means solitary, one person. So when we have the soul, our soul, SOUL, we're also saying SOLE, because this is the light that we have, or this is the evidence of the light, the physical evidence, because of the soil. So the soil, SOIL, is the SOUL, is the SOLE, is the SOL. This is the solar. So everyone's body is made of the soil, and this soil is what gives us the solar energy. So through the solar energy, we get to the solar plexus, which is the middle of our body, the solar plexus, where everything comes into our body, every information, light, power, energy. This is our food, actually. So through this solar energy, the soul, we are able to eat plants, we're able to grow food and have water, because everything depends on solar energy for the plants' vegetation, for the rivers to flow, and for everything to happen in the way that it's happening. It's all about the solar energy. So soul is SOLE, which means one. And when we go to the moon is a reflection of the sun. So the moon is also used in the same way as solar is SOL, the moon is MON, which is mon. So from the moon, what we have is actually the root of something like we see as a reflection of the sun. So the moon imitates the sun. So sometimes it's a tricky imitation, which is why anything can happen in the dark. But the moon is a reflection of the sun. So just like how the sun is Sol, SOLE, the moon is moon, or mono, MONO, the moon. So it's also one. So the one moon in our Earth, in our orbit, and the one sun in our Earth and in our orbit. So this is a reflection of the same thing. So both of them are one and one. So one and one is two, which is Adam and Eve, or odd and even, which is one and two. So we have one and one. So the Adam was the first, let's say he was the soul, right? So the soul son, he was the first son, and Eve was the second one. So Eve came out of Adam, the same way that the light of the moon comes out of the light of the sun. So she came out of him, and it's the same thing, soul and mono. So this is where we get how our world has always been operating. So everything that is concerning the way that we live, the way that we are, the way that our societies are arranged, is linked to the moon. So in African kingdoms, the kings were usually chosen as per the direction of the moon. So this was always the understanding that the people who are chosen to lead are also representing the moon, because the moon is the man. So through this, we've had people who identified themselves with the celestial body. So the sun is the greatness, and we are reflecting the Son of Light, the light of God, because we are made in His image and likeness. So we're just trying to be like Him. So through the moon, we've had all of the institutions in the world. So something like monopoly, which is monopoly. So it has the root of MON. So from this root is moon. So from this root, this is where we have every monopoly in the earth. And through this monopoly, this is where someone has a lot of power, and this power keeps on growing. So every monopoly is based on this understanding and based on this root, because this moon was called the creator of all things in this realm, because through the moon, through reflection, through Eve, we were able to elevate our minds. Eve was the development of everyone. So DE, and then we have Eve in the middle of develop. So this was our develop. This is how we developed because of Eve. So this is why they say that we are able to understand this world through this understanding of the moon. So we have every monopoly, okay? So we have every monarchy, which is still the same root that the monarchy, the mono, which is a reflection of the sun. So we want to reflect the greatness of God. Every monarchy is based on this. So everything that is concerning this is based on MON. So even our money, MON, our money is based on this understanding. So for this, I have a video called The Etymology of Money. And in this, I speak about how the money is MON for MONSTER. So, which is the monster, because people are afraid of money because it has monstrous tendencies. So money is a monstrosity in our society because the basis of money was the understanding that money is a monitor, MON again. So this monitor is what you call something that just keeps track of what you are doing and what you're spending. So money is a monitor. So this is monstrous, because if you've read 1984 and stuff like that, you'd see that when everything is being monitored by the all-seeing eye, this is not a pleasant thing. So this is a monopoly, this is a monarchy, because all of the power is concentrated in a monotheistic, or in a mono person, like mono imano. So this person is doing this in that way. So this is the basis of it. So when we have the money, it is actually from the moon. This is why every month, which is still MON, we get the MONEY, the money, every month, because it measures every month, and this is how money is measured. So also, when we are talking about the days of the week, all of them are actually representing the celestial elements that we have known through histories and through the kingdoms of the past. So when we say Sunday, we're saying Sunday, right? The day of the sun, and the next day is Monday, which is Moon Day, and the next day is a Tuesday, which is Mars Day. The next day is a Wednesday, which is Mercury, and the Thursday is Jupiter, and the Friday is Venus, the Saturday is Saturn. So all of these are actually representing the 7 ruling planets, and this is how we actually speak, and this is how we measure our time, this is how we measure our lives. So understanding this basis is to not separate the sun from the moon, but the moon on its own has its own power and its own influence. So it's being worshipped by so many different cultures and societies. So for example, the goddess Ishtar from the Semitic region was the fertility goddess, beauty goddess, and she was depicted as related to the moon, and also simultaneously related to Venus, because Venus is the female planet, and also related to fertility, to beauty, to sex, to love, to veneration. So all of this, even all of the venereal diseases are Venetian or Venus, Venetians. This is another indicator, because Venus and Mars is Venus and Rome, because Rome is Mars and Jupiter. So This is male and female again. So all of these principles are always embodied in different ways by different people. And even the goddess Inanna was also representing the moon, which is also a goddess of fertility, and the goddess of Estar, which is Easter. So everything that has this root is a part of this, because it's embodied in the MON, and this is where the root stems, or the idea of it, because every thought leads to a word. So the word comes from the thought, and this thought is the idea. So the ideology and how it comes about is because of this word. So every monastery, okay, so when a monk, MON again, a monk goes to a monastery, MON again, and the monastery, which is what you could say a soul cell, one cell, SOLE, cell, and you could also say this is one star. So this is where we get mono and astery. So this is where we get Aster. This is the goddess who is of the beauty veneration moon. So this monastery, the monks, this is all linked to the moon. So the power of the moon is the influence of this. So every monastery is also something you call mono. So mono is something that is hermetic, because a hermit is someone who is always alone. All one, which is alone, which is soul, which is the sun, and the moon reflects the sun. So the moon reflects the sun. But what we have is called a hermit. So a monk is somewhat of a hermit, or a person in a monastery. It's a hermit's star. So this is where we get Hermes, or hermetic knowledge. This is when people lock away knowledge, or have knowledge that is to them alone, or that is only known to them, accessible to them, or understood by them, even though these things could be clear or could be available to everyone. But understanding it, unlocking it, is something else. So this is where we get the crescent shape of the moon. So when the moon is crescent shaped, depending on the direction of the crescent shape, we see whether the moon is waxing or waning, because the moon has 4 different cycles. So it has 4 different stages of development. So the moon is always changing. 1, 2. The moon is linked to the 4, and the 4, which is the 4 elements, the 4 seasons, the 4 tones, the 4 everything. So the color 4 on the tetragrammaton is linked to the moon. So this is the four weeks in every month again. So every week, which is where we start our work week with a Monday or a moon day, and this measures the week, or it starts on a Sunday, which has the reflection being the next day. So either way that you look at it, we have this 4, and through the moon we have the first and the last cycles of the moon showing us a crescent shape. So crescent means something that is actually increasing. Crescent means something that is expanding. So this is the meaning of crescent, or the meaning of crescendo. So this is the crest of the moon. This is the horns of the moon. So through these horns we have something that is representing terrestrial, or Taurus, or the earth, which is the whole element of earth, which is governed by the moon, of which the moon also governs the water, which is also found on the earth. So this Taurus, or these horns, govern the land, because this is Taurus, because and then the moon itself governs the water, which is another element which is governed by the actual moon. So so this is the crescent. So the moon is what we call the monitor, right? The money, the monitor, and this is what we use for admonition, because everything in the world is linked to the moon. So it's admonition. When you admonish someone, which is like punish or something like that, this is what happens when a person goes to a court and then he's charged, right? You are charged for whatever thing, and then through this you have to, you're admonished so that you can pay money. So it's MON, so that you are admonished. So the administration in any country, this is where we get democracy, which is also has the MO. So this democracy is from this same root. So the admonishment happens because of the MON, and the admonishment is ADMON, nishment, right? So all of this is how we actually see this world. And the moon is also the premonition. So when you are thinking into the future, when you see things into the future, this is premonition. So this is also part of the influence of the moon. So all of these are in pluralities and dualities, that things, everything can be used for good and can be used for bad. But when this is happening, it means that when you have the crescent shape and the moon, when the horns of the moon are pointing up, it means that the moon is waxing. When they're pointing down, it means that they're waning. So this is where you actually get the premonition, because you know what's going to happen. So unlike the sun never has any curves, because the sun has rays, which are just these crosses. The sun just has these crosses. The rays are just straight lines, but the moon has crescent curves. So this is the feminine, while the sun just has these rays that are just straight beams of light. So this is the difference of the two, and the sun is soul, the moon is mono. So through this, we have the understanding of this moon and what it actually represents and what it means. So this is the admonishment. This is where we get our understanding of basically all things, or most of the things in this world. Because through charging, what are you charging? You're charging a person because of money. It's always about money. Everything's about money, and moon creates the money because it is the MON, which creates the waves and the flows in the ocean. And the waves and the flow of the oceans are all currents, and these are all currencies. So this is actually energy. So people harness the energy of the moon, and through this energy of the moon, they're able to do certain things by the power of the moon. So the moon rules over the darkness. So some people who use this energy are actually using the energy of the darkness. Not to say that all of them are, because when you're looking at the Jewish calendar, they use the energy of the moon. The Chinese use the energy of the moon because they use a lunar calendar. So understanding that this is the energy of the moon, which is reflective of the sun. It has its own cycles, but through understanding this is an energy that is ruling the darkness. So this is an energy that people who are sometimes witches are using, because they use this energy with the moon. They do their things under a full moon. Why do they do it under a full moon? So all of these things happen because they are happening according to the laws of the universe. So they're using the laws of the universe against you. This is why you have to know this, so that you can actually understand the laws of the universe. Because the moon is the woman. The woman is actually is actually affected by the moon cycle because of her menstruation cycle. So menstruation has the man in it, menstruation, even though it happens to the woman, because the woman is a reflection of the sun. So this is why the man is in the woman. This is how Eve came out of Adam. So this is the completion of the whole cycle, that the greater light ruled the day, the other lights rule the night. So all of these are the same thing. One is a reflection, but don't ever forget that the moon is very, very powerful, very potent, and very strong, because through the moon, a lot of people are able to harness certain powers that people sleep on. No pun intended or pun intended. But like, people are sleeping while people are harnessing their actual power. So this is where we get demon, which is D and MON. Mon. Demon possession, demon activity, because of the moon. So this is, D is to remove. And moon is also a man. In my understanding is that the first man was a moon. So this moon is the man. So demon possession is D man. So D man. So this is where a person is being demeaned. This is where a person is being divided by these different understandings. So just know that God is one. God is love. God is all. And you have nothing to be afraid of. So just keep your power and keep your sovereignty. Thank you a lot for watching this. I'm going to see you soon.